Rob. I think that, of course, number one, we have statutory obligations, whether it's serving on boards and commissions or whether it's being the chair of the Senate, which I take very seriously. But I think my vision for the office is one that was similar to Diane Denish's, and that is making sure that we advocate for particular areas of interest, which are education, the economy. And then, of course, one of the things I've been talking about for 10 months is making sure that we use that office as somewhat of an ombudsperson's office. In other words, if, Rob, you have a problem in state government, you can't get through, you can't get connected, I hope that you'll pick up the phone and call my office so that we can connect you with the people that can assist you in your issue with state government. I think that is the role of Lieutenant Governor.
Being the President of the Senate, again, serving when the governor is not available or out of state. But I also see the role as something very important, and that is to be an ambassador not only to the governor, but to the legislature, and so that we can take the concerns of every single New Mexican from both urban and rural parts of the state, Rob, to ensure that their voice is being heard. There's also the ability to serve on different boards and commissions and to ensure that the governor's policies are being enacted. So I look forward to doing that as Lieutenant Governor. But as a good Republican, not through the Lieutenant Governor's office, but as an elected official, my goal is to help grow our party so that we have a strong two-party system in our New Mexico. Because I believe absolute power, and we've seen that over the last 7 years, and the truth is we've seen it almost in statehood, that there's been one party, and that's been the Democrat Party, that has controlled every facet of government here. And when we talk about absolute power corrupting, we've seen that today. So a strong two-party system in New Mexico bodes well for every single New Mexican. So I look forward to helping grow our Republican Party so that we have a balance of power here in New Mexico. Well, you know, I've been in the private sector for almost 30 years and creating jobs. I've served in the legislature before. I'm not a career politician, but I think what separates us is that you know, I believe in those true conservative values that are important for every New Mexican. I don't believe, like Brian Colon, that government has the answers for everything. I believe that the individual, that every New Mexican, if they're given the opportunity to a good education, an opportunity to live their life in the private sector and to flourish, then they'll make their own way. So I think that distinguishes. I'm a good fiscal conservative. I think Mr. Colon has proven over the years that he believes in higher taxes and more government. And today, as New Mexicans are hurting, we need to be able to have a different way of going, because we can't continue to follow the same failed policies that the Democrat Party has for the last 7 years. So we need a big difference. And I believe that if we empower the private sector, that we'll grow the economic pie instead of cutting smaller and smaller slices of that pie in order to meet our obligations.
I think I'm not sure, because I haven't heard much of a campaign from Mr. Sanchez. I know we've both got experience running small businesses. I know that we both care about the state a great deal, but I can tell you that what we're talking about is making sure that we invest appropriately in education in New Mexico, early childhood development, and investing in small businesses in New Mexico. I haven't heard a lot from Mr. Sanchez about those areas. Diane Denish has promoted a plan where we invest in small businesses, where we grow New Mexico one job at a time, providing a $2,500 tax credit for small businesses that are willing to add just one more job to our local economies. We know that we can't build the economy just on I-25. We have to have a 33-county strategy. It's what I advocated for when I was chair of the Democratic Party. It's what I'm advocating for with Diane Denish as governor and lieutenant governor. Yes, I think that we have several departments that are duplicating services, and we need to look at collapsing those so we can enjoy economies of scale. For instance, in education, you know, we talk about educational overhead, and we talk about classroom resources. Well, we have to talk about the same way in state government. What is state government overhead versus the people that are on the ground getting the job done? So we need to look at cutting back on the exempt employees in New Mexico. Diane Denish, Governor Richardson has made some cuts in that area. Diane Denish has said there's still some fat to be cut when it comes to exempt employees, and that's the first area where we're going to look. Cut back on the overhead, because the people that are on the front line delivering services to New Mexicans, which are at an all-time high demand because of the economy, those folks are working hard to get the job done, and we need to give them the resources, but that doesn't necessarily mean to increase the overhead associated with those departments.
Immediately, I believe that there has been an explosion in how state government has grown. When I was a state legislator 8 years ago, we passed a budget that was about $4 billion a year, in the black, one of the few states at the time. And within 6 years, under the Richardson-Denish administration, we saw state government, its budget, increased by almost 50%. We look at the tremendous amount of new hires within state government, political appointees. By simply going in and going through every single agency and getting rid of those political appointees, bringing back fiscal sanity, and cutting the waste in state government, we can start to narrow and close that gap. So immediately, that's something that can be done. But the last thing that we should be doing is raising taxes on the citizens of New Mexico. We ought to be lowering taxes, cutting the waste, reducing state spending. And when you do that, we'll give the private sector the opportunity to flourish. And when we do, we allow those small businesses, both small and even the larger ones, to add more employees, new employees, Rob, that are going to simply be more taxpayers. It's not about more taxes. It's about having more people who can pay taxes because there's more taxpayers.